It is 16 days to the general election and preparations are in top gear for the polls. Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule says the All Progressives Congress will emerge victorious at the presidential poll. The governor, who is seeking re-election, says he is confident of victory because of his laudable achievements in the state and the dividends of democracy tapped from the federal government. He says these speaks volumes and the people of Nasarawa will reciprocate with massive votes for him, Bola Tinubu and APC candidates seeking elective office. Days ago, the Tinubu-Shettima campaign train berthed in Nasarawa State, where President Muhammadu Buhari declared Bola Tinubu the next president of Nigeria and Governor Abdullahi Sule as incoming for the next 4 years. Well, joining us now from our Abuja studio is the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule. Your Excellency, good morning. Thank you for joining us. And we also want to use this opportunity to express our condolences on the loss of your son.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I thank you.
Right. Let's begin with the campaign train, the presidential campaign train of the APC that birthed in your state days ago. There we saw President Muhammadu Buhari endorse the candidate or the presidential candidate of the party. Do you think that perhaps that puts to rest all the controversies and arguments of persons who have spoken about the president's not being fully a part of the campaign or the campaign train of the presidential candidate of the party?
Well, really, that was our prayer. Our prayer was to ensure that we got the president in a very good mood, where the president will open up rather than keeping things to himself. And so we had so many programs all set up for the president. Because if you notice, I actually visited the president a few days before the rally. And during my visit to Mr. President, we discussed various projects, which we know deep down that President loves to commission some of these projects. So we decided to line up the projects. So we decided also to ensure that President was in an excellent mood as we enter into the rally. So that's why we started with the various projects, some of them federal government, some of them state government projects. And then of course we went to the emir. The emir of Lafia is someone the president loves so much. That's why he in fact named the federal secretariat that was commissioned after our emir, of Lafia, the former chief justice, the former justice of the Supreme Court. So that's somebody that is very close to him. So we are able to put all that together. But earlier on, I don't think any one person will take the credit for the president opening up. But I think number one is that we were able to get the president open up as a result of so many forces that came together. First, he was very happy at the event. In fact, after the event, we went again and had lunch with him and our presidential candidate, Bola Tinubu, and his vice and the national chairman. And we were sharing lots of jokes, even after the rally at the square. And so the president spent a lot of time with us, cracking a lot of jokes with Bola Tinubu and the rest. All those were part of the planning to ensure that it went well. So we're happy that Nasarawa State had become the state of unifying that and putting to rest all the rumor that Mr. President was not with Ahmed Bola Tinubu.
Well, it's an interesting thing you have said. There was also the other grain of the narrative, in the lead up to that campaign. This came from your brother governor, Nasir El-Rufai, who said that there are some elements in the Aso Rock who have been described as fifth columnists who do not want the APC to win the presidential poll. Did you get a sense of that when the president came into Nasarawa? And what's your response?
Well, I think first and foremost, as individuals and as governors, we have different ways that we respond to some of this kind of frustration. And I will tell you my number one frustration on the Naira exchange. On this Naira palaver that we were facing, everyone knows, and even INEC is now asking for logistic support because logistic has to be cash. So here we are in Nasarawa State looking for the president to come and commission projects. looking for our presidential candidate to come for a rally, and we didn't have 5 million naira cash. 5 million naira we didn't have from any of the banks. So I had to, in fact, speak directly with the governor of Central Bank and pleaded with him. And I will tell you, my brother, that up till the time of the event, even 25 million naira promised to us by the Central Bank governor was not given to us until after the event that we finally got 25 million naira. Now, look at 25 million naira considering the amount of logistics that you are going to have. So that's huge frustration. If it was another person that was expressing his frustration outside, I will do worse than El-Rufai to come out and start talking about Central Bank governor, the villa, all that, what have you. And you have seen the crowd in Lafia. The crowd from 2 or 3 local government areas will consume the entire 25 million naira. But we had to start thinking outside the box to do other things, before we get that event successful. So I think El-Rufai had spoken his mind, and he has spoken out of the frustration of not getting things done. And I think so many Nigerians are also doing the same. We saw what happened yesterday in Ogun State, and then we are seeing the governors as a forum had seen Mr. President yesterday with the security chiefs. We have seen the APC governors has seen the president, about 5 days ago, where the president promised that in 7 days he will address all the concerns. So it's a big frustration all over. And sometimes when you are frustrated, you say so many things. And I have also seen where the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, has responded to what Governor El-Rufai has said, and also the response again from El-Rufai when he said he didn't name anybody. He just said some elements in the villa. He's not out. So these are the kinds of things you go through. And I think it's unfortunate as a whole that we are having this problem at this time. And that's why this is the first time we are seeing, the INEC chairman going to Central Bank, pleading for him to get cash, for him to do that. So if we knew we were having elections, if we knew we were having these kind of problems, why having this exchange right now? So those are the frustrations Nigerians and everybody is going through. And it's unfortunate, it is sad.
All right, Mr. Governor, this challenges are things everyone is facing around the country, and I know your state is not an exception. But how are you coping or interfacing with residents of the state regarding this peculiarity or this challenge right now that everyone is complaining about? I know you would have listened to traditional rulers, you would have listened to women leaders, you would have listened to youth leaders and people in the villages. What are they saying? What are you telling them? And what's that interface?
Yesterday we were in total local government. Yes, I had to travel. Day before yesterday I was in Nasarawa local government. Yesterday I was in total local government. Total local government doesn't even have a bank. One bank doesn't have. And this is a huge local government that has border with Abaji. So you can see the frustration has gone beyond what you are talking about. So I had to, in fact, I went all the way to Umasha, spoke with the people. People are extremely frustrated. I told them the president had given us 7 days to address these issues. I told them the governors yesterday were also meeting with Mr. President to see if we could address the issues. I explained to them some of my own frustrations, like I have just indicated to you right now, about getting money even for logistics. We have 13 local government areas. Assuming we are only taking, roughly, 200 people, from every local government area. That is just 2,600 people. Do you think even the 25 million will be enough to mobilize for such people? These are the kinds of problems that I see. So the people in Nasarawa State have known me to be somebody who is very transparent with them, who will tell them as it is, who will tell them the facts the way it is. So, and I use that as an opportunity to tell them again the truth, that this is what we are going through. This is what Mr. President has said. This is what the governor of Central Bank has said. Because all the frustration we can get from the banks will tell us that their hands are tied. They can't do this, they can't do that, they can't do this. Nearly every bank you go, they tell you that they have CBN officials with them. They can't do this. So it is highly, highly, highly frustrating, my brother. I don't know. So Nasarawa State is not an exception. But the reason why we always go around to ensure there is no problem in Nasarawa, because the moment there is problem in Nasarawa, there is problem in Abuja. Look at our proximity, with majority of some of the workers that are working right here in Karu. So today I'm in Karu local government under the same mission. I'm going around again to talk to people, to do that. That's what we keep doing, But if it is frustration, people are frustrated. You can see it directly in their faces. It's written all over. So Nasarawa cannot be an exception.
Right. Despite these challenges, we could see a number of persons who thronged out to show perhaps their support for the presidential candidate and the president when they came to the state to campaign. And the question is, how were you able to mobilize these people to come out despite the challenges that you just mentioned? And what is the message that these people are sending perhaps to the opposition within the state?
We had to think outside the box because if we can't allow people to frustrate us down to our knees. So we had to think completely outside the box, and that's what we did to ensure that we mobilize people. There were instances where we had taken some money on credit, from some other people that had availability in order to make sure we mobilize people. There were instances where we were able to make transfers to certain people, like the transport union. This is the first time that we didn't give money to people. We actually hired the truck directly from the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and we were able to pay them. And we took, again, credit from them. Okay, we are owing you on this, we are going to pay you once all these problems are over. These are the kinds of things we did, before we were able to mobilize our people. Because we had to think outside the box. We can't fold our arms and say that somebody is frustrating us, because if you do that, then you have given up. So we never allow that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were speaking with the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, who has been speaking with us with regards to developments within the state, the APC's presidential campaigns in the state, as well as his plans as he seeks re-election. All right, before we went on the break, I asked a question with regards to the number of persons that came out despite the challenges that you witnessed leading up to the campaigns in your state. And one question that I needed your response to was, the crowd we saw, what message is it sending to the opposition in the state?
Well, what we did was to ensure that we brought out people who truly believe in President Muhammadu Buhari, believe in our presidential candidate Bola Tinubu, and of course believe in our own administration of Governor Sule and Dr. Akabi. We have touched every local government that you can think of in Nasarawa State. There is no local government I have not been to. There is nowhere that we have not done one big project or the other. Even the opposition, most of the opposition, there are instances where people will deny areas dominated by opposition, for one project. I have constructed roads and other things to the heart of the opposition. So that's what we did as far as Nasarawa State is concerned, because even within an area where it is dominantly opposition, you can find some people there who are not opposition. So for the benefit of those people, let the opposition gain. That's our own mission, that's our own policy when it comes to that. So that's why you saw the people that came out in mass. A lot of those people we had more people outside the stadium, we call it Lafayette Square. We had more people outside Lafayette Square than we had inside Lafayette Square. Because we followed through the routes, where every route we followed from the airport, all the way to our city gate, all the way to the palace, to the federal secretariat, where people that line up. And even outside, because Lafayette Square will only take roughly about 7,000 to 10,000 people, but outside, we had more than 20,000 people. So that's what we saw, and that's what the president saw. And not only that, the people came out to listen to the president, but they were quiet, they were attentive. There was no chaos. So the synergy, that we saw, was actually showing that people are happy with APC, both at the federal and at the state level. So that's what happened.
Yes, I'm sure that you heard the response of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar when he said that what Nigerians are going through with the currency problem and also the fuel problem. They described this as little inconvenience. And Peter Obi of the Labour Party described this as some inconvenience and Nigerians should bear and that there should be no postponement and so on. What did you think when you heard those comments?
Well, you see, when majority of Nigerians are APC, majority of politicians are voting for APC, then you will not expect anything less from the opposition. I'm not surprised at the statements coming out from any of the opposition parties. Because in politics, what people try to do is to take advantage of every situation that there is. And I think that's what they are trying to do. But if you see the number of people who are suffering today, it's beyond APC supporters. You know, people who can go to the bank, even with their own money, people who cannot exchange, they cannot buy foodstuff with their money. People, so it's more than little inconvenience. Because if people don't eat for 3, 4, 5 days, that is beyond inconvenience, and definitely beyond little inconvenience. So unless if they are not familiar with what people are going through, because all this suffering that you are seeing people are going through, all this frustration that some of us say we are going through, there are some people that are not even they are not facing anything whatsoever. So if people don't face that, how do you expect them to do otherwise? I think that's just what is happening here. Otherwise, anybody who will go down the street, you know, for me, in my life, I've always had the opportunity to go down to the street. When I was the managing director, group managing director of Dangote Sugar, I didn't sit in Lagos. I was all over Makola Market, Singa Market, you know, in Kano. This at every major market, I will go down there myself. I will walk through the market. I will come across the wheelbarrow. I will come across that. That's so, I'm that kind of person. And the same thing as I am as a governor. I come down and enter the market and enter the shops and enter the palaces and enter so that people will, so I can feel the pain of what people are going through and feel the happiness of what people are going through. So, but if you don't have that kind of opportunity and you are not like that, then you expect that you can say anything. And this is really the fact. That's the only response I can have to that.
All right, Mr. Governor, with this situation, Nigerians are expressing their frustrations. Do you have concerns that this could have some kind of impact in the coming election?
It will definitely have negative impact on the coming elections if decisions are not taken to reverse some of the problems we are facing. As I said, forget even about the governors, forget about those people who are looking for elections, forget about presidential candidates. You have seen even INEC. INEC had to go to central bank and beg them for funds so that they can have cash, because there are certain transactions that they will carry during this election. If there is no cash, they can't carry it. This is the reality. Now, we have also heard, you know, from the pages of the newspapers that, yes, CBN governor had promised he was going to give them money. Let's see how much he gives them, you know, for that. So from there, you have to be concerned. You know, our only remedy here that will pacify us is the fact that Mr. President said in a certain number of days he will do the best he can, you know, to resolve this matter. Because right now, for instance, I was in Toto, in Umasha. The people cannot buy anything with the old money. So they call it old money right now. If you go carrying out transactions, people are not interested. So people carry their grains, their foodstuff, their shops, they lock them up, they are waiting for new money to come. The new money is not available. So somebody who is in that kind of situation, what does he care about any election? You know, are you going to ask him go and vote, and then he will tell you, is he going to vote on empty stomach? So I think it's a serious problem we are facing, and I hope those who are bringing this matter understand that. And that's the reason why this matter did not come to the National Executive Council, National Economic Council, you know, where the governors, the vice president, the CBN governor, Minister of Finance, and all these people are. You will expect that if there is going to be something like this, it will be discussed extensively at the NEC meeting. But it was not brought to NEC meeting at all, not to my knowledge. Because Nasarawa State is one of the states with perfect attendance when it comes to NEC. I attend most of NEC, over 80%, and the remaining 20% that I can attend, my deputy governor attends. So we have not seen this, we have not discussed it. So what is the essence of the economic council if you cannot even discuss issues about changing your money? So these are the challenges that everybody must face. Why should NEC go and beg any central bank to give them cash? So people just wake up overnight and think that you can change Nigeria to cashless when you don't have all the structures necessary to do the cashless. We don't have it yet. I live in America for most of my career life. So I understand what cashless is. I love it. It's a wonderful thing. It's working in America. I went to school in America. I work in America for most of my life. Okay? And it is a good thing. But is Nigeria ready for cashless? It's a gradual thing. You don't wake up and see something happening in China and then say you will apply it in Nigeria. Because you have not gone through the steps to ensure that it happens. So I think that's really my own frustration. Not that I don't understand what cashless is. I school in a cashless society. I work in a cashless society before I actually came back here.
Thank you for staying with us. Before we went on the break, we were speaking with the Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, who has been speaking with regards to developments in the state, with regards to the cash crunch and elections, the campaigns in the state. And back to you, Mr. Governor. When the president came to the state, he commissioned some projects. And one would like to ask if from all of those projects, you would say that you have delivered on your campaign promises with regards to your first term, because there are those who think otherwise.
Well, if they think otherwise what? Definitely the projects were carried out during our own administration. That's why, in fact, the president was coming to commission a project on agricultural machinery equipment, and then the Federal Secretariat. And I knew opposition were going to say, okay, none of the projects is for the state. So that's why we introduced a state project. That's how the president now came out with 3. Now, even these 2 projects that I'm talking about, how did we get the agricultural machinery project to come to Nasarawa State? This agricultural machinery project we are talking about is the one that we are going to be sited in all the 6 geographical zones. There is going to be 1 in each one of those zones. We went and lobbied to ensure that the one of Nasarawa starts, because we are an agricultural state, we are this and that, we try to do that. And I think you can see me actually on the day that we went into commission that. So I followed up, I traveled to Naseni. As a governor, I visited Naseni. I pleaded with them. I begged them to come and do this. And when they came in, we gave them the land free. I now became, as an engineer, I now became actually an engineering supervisor of that project. We finished that project in 6 months, from the time it was started. That is on one side. On the other project, the Federal Secretariat, it started during the era of our first executive governor, Abdullahi Adamu, and then abandoned along the way. I was always, following up with Governor Fashola, the minister, to ensure again that project comes into being. We followed up. I inspected. I kept talking to them. We followed until that project actually got concluded. Even on the naming, whose name was going to come out, to name after the project. We followed up on that until it happens. So in every one of them, I followed. And now we did the road on that day. It's a very dangerous road on ecological issues where a lot of our children actually have died. We brought that road, we introduced it. Everybody was excited. I was sitting in the same car with Mr. President. He was so excited that we were able to solve that particular problem. So when they say otherwise what? So those are the projects that were commissioned on that day. Now, there were so many projects that we initiated from ground zero, when people didn't even think of them. And then we came up and established those kind of projects. Most of them were the ones that Mr. President came in to commission, during his February 24th, 2022, in Nasarawa State. So President actually visited us twice in less than 1 year, to ensure that he commissioned projects. Now, most of those projects were projects of the state government. So when you say the people are thinking otherwise what? I don't understand. It's just that it's unfortunate in this country when opposition doesn't have anything to do. They just come in and start saying things on the pages of newspaper. But if they want to find out, they can go and see the projects. And I can see right now on TV, you are showing one of the projects where we're having a lot of problems, in Karu. And then we started that project from a place that was abandoned, that was just a place that meant for criminals, and we crushed everything and we started that project from ground zero until we concluded it. The same thing one in Lafia, the same thing in Kefi, a market that got burned several times, So all these projects, there was no project there. Federal government had no Naira there. We did that all with our own little resources that we have and that. So I don't know which people you are talking about and what they mean. And I can see you are showing our technology village also, that is also coming up, which again, nobody was even thinking of technology village in Nasarawa State. We brought it to Karu, where we believe that is where it will be. So we have so many of these projects all over the state, but it's not something that I have to sit down here and keep telling you to worry about opposition. If they are worried, let them tell you what they have done in Nasarawa State. Some of them have been in government, for the past, for the first 16 years of our life. They couldn't construct even laterite roads to their villages. And those are the kind of people today that I'm telling you. I'm the one constructing the roads to their villages today. And we're doing it. We're not paying attention. We're not making a mockery of them that they couldn't do that. And we're doing that intentionally because they always say this, that, this, so that's what is happening.
I would like you to speak a little broadly on the politics of the Middle Belt, since you are in that axis in the country. How is your party faring in that aspect of the country, especially knowing that in the past few years you also had problems with banditry, problems with insecurity, and so on and so forth. How going to this election is APC going to perform, both in the presidential and the governorship?
Well, it depends from one state to another. I think you mentioned one thing that has always gone positive for us in our own state. Let me talk from one state to another. In our own state of Nasarawa has been security. There is no place you will go in Nasarawa state today. Even the opposition will tell you that they are giving credit to the governor when it comes to area of security, because we came in and met the state with all some of these issues that you find. Because look at next door neighbor, Benue State, they have the anti-open grazing law. As a result of that, every time you have cows that come across our porous borders and undefined borders, they are arrested. And once the Fulanis get upset that they turn around and every thief person living in Nasarawa State becomes a victim. So we were able to go to a certain extent, and douse that tension significantly. Harder farmer crisis in Nasarawa State is no more happening. It's almost completely zero now. You can hear once in a while that you have one farmer that one herder that allows his cows to go in there, because Nasarawa State is the first state to adopt the NLTP project, and we have the NLTP project where we now have a site where the livestock are going to live, and we got the support of the Netherlands government, support of the federal government, and we gave the land, and then we constructed the road, and we have been able to establish that. That has reduced the harder farmer crisis significantly. So that is now in Nasarawa State. Now, look at other states, that you are talking about, because now you talk largely on the Middle Belt. If you look at the Middle Belt, part of Taraba is in the Middle Belt, Benue definitely in the Middle Belt, part of Kogi is in the Middle Belt, and the rest of that. Now, of course, Nasarawa and Plateau are the heart of the Middle Belt. So this is what is happening, and there are issues in one state or another. But right now in the north-central states, 5 out of the 6 states are actually in the control of the APC, and we don't see any one of them losing. As a matter of fact, we see hope in Benue State that because of all the crises that they are facing, the national chairman of the party is not in good terms with the governor of the party. The governor is here, the vice is there, and now we have a reverend, who is our governorship candidate in the state. And we strongly believe, we are hoping, that if we take Benue, we can now have all the 6 north-central states, under the control of APC. So these are the things. So for us, we are not jittering anything. We are not having any big concerns. Definitely not in Nasarawa. And I don't think also in most of these other states, where is it are you going to have concerns? Niger or Kogi or Kwara or, Plateau and the rest of that, So we don't see the problem. I don't know if you are seeing it, my brother.
All right, Mr. Governor, you touched on security, so let's talk a little bit about security. One will feel that the governors, the north central states that you call the Middle Belt, are kind of landlocked, which gives them some level of advantage when it comes to border, cross-border insecurity. Because before anyone comes and gets close to your state, you would have crossed several states before they come there. Now, how are the governors in the Middle Belt or the North Central working together to ensure that this issue of insecurity are issues of the past? Just recently, we heard of the blast in I think the border of Nasarawa State with Benue, thereabout, where some persons were killed. Talk to us about how you're working, collaborating to ensure there is security in the belt.
Well, irrespective of political parties, we as the governors of the North Central, we have our meetings. And in our meetings, number one item being discussed is security. And let me tell you, because of this border crisis, anti-open grazing law and the rest of that we have. When I became a governor, less than 2 months after I became a governor, I visited Benue. And then we established a relationship. And I'm sure you saw, when my son died, one of the first governors to visit me, even though in an opposition political party, was the governor of Benue, visited me in Nasarawa to come and condole with me. He visited me to come and condole also on the issue that you just mentioned on the bombing of those Fulanis, at our border, the border town of Rukubi. So he was one of the governors actually that did that, So there is this relationship between the leaders. We also have relationship between our own traditional rulers within that area. But let me correct one impression you have. If you say we are actually secured because we are in the North Central, you know the amount of problems that we are having, we had and we still having in the state of Niger. Niger is part of the North Central. So just because you don't have border with Cameroon and Niger Republic and Chad, or maybe Benin Republic, it doesn't mean that you are totally secured. You saw what happened there. You all know what has happened over and over in the state of Plateau. So and in fact, part of some of these problems started from the Plateau. So I don't think it is the issue of having a border at the northern sides. That is the cause of this particular problem.
All right. Let's look at the internally generated revenue of your state and how you intend to reposition the state economically to improve on that. The last report I got, I think, was in 2020, and it said that the internally generated revenue was 7.4 billion naira between January and June. And I'm wondering how you intend to improve on that, to reposition the state economically and also to attract investors to the state. How do you want to do that if you are re-elected?
I think the numbers you are putting are outdated. They are long-term numbers. I think if you approach the correct agencies, you will be able to get those kind of numbers, the correct numbers. The 7.1 billion was the internally generated revenue that we had in the year 2019. By 2020, the internally generated revenue grew actually to about 13 billion. By 2021, it actually went in above 20 billion now. So and we are going gradually in growing the internally generated revenue. We came up with some of the laws. Nasarawa State is one of the places that has become very attractive, for those people living in Abuja that cannot afford to live in Abuja. They live in Nasarawa, and that's why we're having Technology Village in Karu, just across the border from here. So we decided to bring about some development in some of those areas so that they will now become more and more attractive, to people to come and live in Nasarawa State. And Nasarawa State is also one of those states that came up with a sister company looking like the Agis. Is it Agis that you have? We have Najis in Nasarawa State, and you have Kadis in Kaduna State. So those are the companies that are doing all the geographical work as far as identifying where houses are. So, and then issuing of documents that are required, being able to generate revenue also from that kind of area. Now, most of these other places that we have built that you can see, the motor parks that we have built, the markets that we have done, we are generating all kinds of revenue from there. So our target is really to be able to take a state that we started, at 7.1 billion in the year 2019, and then take it to maybe somewhere about 30 billion, in a year, in 4 years. That's the target that we had. So we don't have our numbers for 2022 yet, but we already have the numbers that I was telling you in the year 2021, where we are in the neighborhood of 20 billion. So that's where we are, and that is almost 3 times what we found.
Now, it looks like the Middle Belt or the North Central is on the cusp of a new form of prosperity in terms of mineral resources, gas and oil. I understand that Nasarawa is having that. Bauchi has had it. We heard that there's something like that going on in Plateau. Do you think that as these new developments, we know that certain things also going on in Borno. Do you think these, also Sokoto, do you think this development will lead to the rewriting of the constitution in terms of putting mineral resources on the exclusive list?
Why should the discovery of oil in some parts of the north, create the rewriting of the constitution? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, to answer that question immediately, I just told you in a blanket that I spent most of my working career, in the United States. I spent that actually working in the oil and gas sector. So it's part of the reasons why the moment I became a governor, I started working very hard to ensure that, the discovery that we have in the Benue Trough that passes through Kiana in Nasarawa State becomes reality. And I'm happy to inform you that up till this moment we are discussing with NMPC. You saw when I visited NMPC along with some other dignitaries from the state, where we discussed about when the first oil well will be drilled. And then the NMPC GMD, gave us, end of, somewhere in March, not end of March, somewhere in March, he said that they are going to have the first well. So as at yesterday, I was still talking to him, and they are going to visit us this month of February to discuss about the modalities for the drilling of that oil well, in the first oil well that we are going to have in March. So there are a lot of these discoveries. Nigeria is blessed with all the basins and all the Benue Trough. Benue Trough, as we know it, actually begins from Calabar, comes through Benue, Nasarawa. It now changes to Upper Benue, in Plateau. And it's the same trough. It goes all the way to Bauchi, Gombe. And that is where Kolmani actually was discovered. And there is about 1 billion barrels of oil at Kolmani. So we expect about the similar kind of find, or discovery, if you want to put it that way, in Nasarawa State that we are talking about. That shouldn't change the constitution, because in fact, it should make Nigeria happier, because most of these huge kind of discoveries are only found in the deep water of Nigeria, not onshore of the Niger Delta. In the deep water of Nigeria, that's where you have the Bonga, 1 billion barrels, Agbani, 1 billion barrels, the Erha. That's where you have all these big discoveries that we have. So now we are beginning to have big discoveries onshore, which is similar to what is happening in Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia, most of their big discoveries are actually onshore in the northern part of Riyadh, and that's where the oil is. And that is what is beginning to happen now to Nigeria. So it's a huge blessing that shouldn't cause any kind of change or commotion or that. No, I don't think just because Nasarawa has oil, we should now say exclusive list. No, Nasarawa takes resource control. In fact, I'm always telling people that the oil that we have in Nasarawa State is not for Nasarawa alone, it's for Nigeria. And that's the way people should look at it. And that's where we are.
All right, Mr. Governor, the Nasarawa state is known, in fact, it's called a solid mineral state, where you have different for some of the best solid minerals are found in Nasarawa state. And as it is, we expect that by now, there should be a lot of foreign direct investments into Nasarawa state because of some of the very unique resources you find there. Talk to us regarding exploring some of these issues and how you're working with the federal government to ensure that you get the best out of them.
No, not working with federal government actually, but working with the investors you talk about, and you hit the nail right where it's supposed to be hit, and I love that. So it is the investors that will come and develop that. When we came in the year 2019, we were just actually being exploited. We had a lot of these companies that came into Nasarawa state to take our raw material outside Nasarawa state. And we said, no, it cannot continue to do that. Yesterday, I was at a place, called Ugya, on the between Toto and Umasha. I stopped by there. I met with one of those Chinese companies that are actually mining the marble that is there. And of course, they had a few CSR that they have done. They built 2 clinics for them, they built that. And I thank them. I say, thank you very much for what you have done. The school, the youth center, which I even commissioned. And I say, wonderful, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for an opportunity where you take this marble and process it there and have finished product right there, rather than having it. Now, we have been able to do that in my own village, since we came in. Today, we have established a company, that has come in and invested, and they are taking the granite directly from the mines, from the quarry, all the way now to a processing plant. And now, if you go to the Karu market, well, let me even give you an easier example that you can find. If you go to the Abuja International Airport, you go to the Lagos International Airport, the marble you see on the floor actually came from my own village in Nasarawa State, because now we are doing the finished product right in Nasarawa State. So majority of what you see in the market today is not from Italy, or from some of those countries. They are being mined locally that we have here. So the same Chinese companies are the ones that are selling it to the contractors, CCECC and other things. We are not stopping there. We are having a company also that is coming in, and we have concluded all the MOU and all the arrangements. They are coming also, to take the zinc that they are taking from our local government, instead of taking it out, to produce the zinc right there, so our people can benefit. So those are the kinds of things that we are doing, rather than what we had. People will just come in, and then in most cases, in fact, it's a very unfortunate situation. People are just doing it almost like illegal mining and things like that. So 2 weeks after I became a governor, I visited the Federal Ministry of Mines, and I explained to them, and I say, I want to know who owns what license in Nasarawa State, this and that. And they surprised me. Over 400 licenses were given in Nasarawa State, and the state was not getting anything as part of that. So I said, no, it cannot continue that way. And it is from there we keep picking up one after another. And by the grace of God, we'll get somewhere. But today I'm happy to tell you that we are producing some of those items in Nasarawa State. We are taking a lot of tin, a lot of columbine, a lot of all from these other places in Nasarawa State. And then we are taking them to some other countries to go and process them. Why can't you process them in Nasarawa State? And that's the reason why we are taking them that way. And we are, God so kind, we are succeeding. Slowly, but we are getting there.
All right. Mr. Governor, we have to wrap this conversation up now because we have run out of time. But it seems we'll have to bring you back to perhaps talk more about your plans for the state as you seek re-election. But must thank you, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State, Abdullahi Sule, for your time on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I didn't want to just talk only on my own achievement. That's why I spoke generally on APC achievement in Nasarawa State, because it's a collective work that we have done. And then I have an excellent team on ground also that is doing a good job. I thank you sincerely for inviting me, And I pray that all these problems will come to an end in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Welcome.